Ye banks and braes of bonny Doon, how can ye bloom so fresh and fair? How can ye chant your little birds, and I say weary, for you care? The world continues to be so beautiful and carefree, whilst I, the speaker of this poem, am filled with so much worry. Rabbi Burns wrote this song 230 years ago, and how relevant it is in today's COVID world, where so many of us are buried in our uncertainties. But behind the scenes, Mother Earth continues to be so beautiful and carefree, and is probably very relieved with this lockdown and reduced carbon footprint, and she is utilizing this time to heal herself. Hello, everyone. Namaste, and welcome to this special evening where we have all got together to celebrate the life and work of Scotland's most famous poet, Rabbi Burns. Even though this year is a little different due to the pandemic, but worldwide there has been an enormous virtual Burns Night celebration with unbelievable amounts of haggis being shipped around the globe, and there has even been a haggis launched to outer space this year. Rabbi Burns does not need any introduction. He was extremely varied. On one hand, he wrote satires of injustice, hypocrisy, and inequality, and on the other hand, he has an extensive repertoire of tender and playful songs and poems on romance and love. SIAF, the Scottish Indian Arts Forum, does not need an introduction either. As we all know, this organization is committed to support the rich diversity of Indian art and culture and its inclusion with the warm and vibrant Scottish heritage. No organization can function without friends and sponsors, and most importantly, the audience. All of SIAF's programs have packed auditoriums and marquees, and thank you all so much for making all these ventures such a success. Today, we would like to thank BEMIS for their kindness and support for this event. We should get cracking on with the program for the evening, and we'll start with a brief presentation by Professor Bashubi Fraser on how the greatest poet of Scotland influenced the life and work of one of India's greatest poets, Rabindranath Tagore. Professor Fraser is a Professor Emerita and a former Professor of English and Creative Writing, as well as the Director of the Scottish Centre of Tagore Studies at Edinburgh Napier University. And she has recently been honoured with a CBE for her lifelong contribution to education, culture, and integration. So here is Professor Bashubi Fraser's address for tonight.
Namaskar and good evening. It is a great pleasure today to be celebrating the 262nd birthday of Robert Burns in Scotland. I'm grateful to the Scottish Indian Arts Forum and Black and Ethnic Minority Infrastructure of Scotland for organizing this interesting and creative program in these critical times as the lockdown continues. I would like to thank Obijit Chakraborty and Meghumala Dash for inviting me to speak about the Scottish Indian links that have been generated through the centuries through the powerful and moving poetry and songs of Robert Burns. And thank you to Meghumala for actually technologically enabling this talk. Burns was a great bridging link between Scotland and India. After the Act of Union in 1707, many Scots joined the East India Company to serve as administrators, writers, doctors, soldiers, engineers, businessmen, educators, and missionaries in India. And in many sectors, they actually formed a majority group. Two of Burns's sons served in the Indian Army. The capital of British India till 1911-12 was Calcutta, that bustling cosmopolitan metropolis on the banks of the Hooghly River. As Scots built a home away from home in India, they retained their distinctive Scottish identity and did this through holding annual St. Andrew's dinners and Burns suppers. In fact, there is a record of a Burns night being celebrated in Calcutta as far back as 1812. At these gatherings, Burns' poems were recited and his songs sung so that old acquaintance was never forgotten. But how did Burns enter and affect the Indian imagination in India in those past centuries? As many of the educators were Scots, they introduced Burns's works to their students in the school and university classrooms. There isn't time to mention all of them, but I will mention three names: David Drummond, David Hare, and Reverend Alexander Duff, who were leading lights in Calcutta as educationists in the 19th century. And they all note the appeal of Burns's spirit of cultural nationalism. This became evident in the leading poet of the young Bengal group, Henry de Rosio, 1809 to 1830, who was greatly attracted to Burns's philosophy of international brotherhood, as for example, in, I quote, "Man to man, the world o'er, shall brothers be for all that." Burns was a herald of Romanticism, and his international appeal touched one of the greatest minds in India, the poet Rabindranath Tagore, 1861 to 1941, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913, when India was still a British colony. Just as we celebrate Robert Burns, the national poet of Scotland's birthday on 25th January every year, many of us celebrate another 25th, the 25th of Boishak, which falls around 7th to 9th of May, the birthday of Rabindranath Tagore, who is the Indian national poet and is remembered on his birthday with the recitation of his poems, the singing of his songs in India, in Bangladesh, and by Indians living in various parts of the world, just as we are doing today. Just as Burns too is remembered through his verse by Scots in Scotland and Scottish descendants in America, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Rabindranath was introduced to Burns's songs as a young boy through the musical evenings presided over his fifth brother, Jyotirindranath Tagore, his wonderfully talented and lively Jyoti Dada, and his friend Akkoy Chaudhary, who was a great lover of Western tunes. As Jyotirindranath experimented with variations of Western tunes on his piano, Robi composed lyrics in Bengali to them. Burns entered the Tagore household soirees through the collected songs of Thomas Moore, which included Scottish and Irish melodies, and many were songs that Burns had collected and immortalized. So Robi wrote Bidai Chumbon, Final Kiss, inspired by Rabi's I Fond Kiss, and I quote, "I fond kiss and then be sever, I farewell and then forever. Deep in heart-wrung tears I pledge thee, warring sighs and groans I'll wedge thee." And the translation by Robi is, "One kiss for me, O my Pramoda. We will probably never meet again. With deepest tears I will worship thee. My deepest sighs are my gifts to thee." During this period, Robi also adapted Rabi's O Philly in Lolit Nolini. So Burns's lines, "O Philly, happy be that day when roving through the gathered hay my youthful heart was stowed away, and by thy charms, my Philly." This found expression in Tagore's verse, "O Nolini, how happy were those days when we were together, holding hands. You stole my heart, Nolini. Oh, Nolini, how happy were those days. Both these songs were published in Bharati, the magazine, the Tagore Household magazine, in 1877. Nolini was a favorite name of Rabindranath's, and this was the name he gave Anna Turgut, the beautiful and accomplished daughter of his older brother Shotendranath Tagore's friend, Dr. Atmaram Pandurang Turgut, with whose family Robi stayed in Bombay when he was 17 before he sailed for England. 2 years later, that is after 1877, in 1879, two of Rabindranath's transcreations of Burns's poems were published, which owe their inspiration to his musical evenings with Jyoti Dada and Akhay Chaudhary. They were Rupashi Amar, Preyoshi Amar. Beautiful Woman, Beloved Mine, based on Burns's The Births of Aberfeldy, and Shushila Amar Janalar Pore, Shushila by the Window Side, which was inspired by Burns's Mary Robinson, again published in Bharati. Robi's love of Rabbie Burns was renewed in 1878 when he came to London and stayed in Dr. Scott's household, enjoying the warmth and love of an intimate family circle nurtured by Mrs. Scott, who looked after Robi with motherly tenderness. It was here that Robi once again sang from Thomas More's Collected Melodies with the Scott sisters, with Lucy Scott on the piano. His English interlude found creative expression in his opera Kal Mrigoya, The Fatal Hunt, published in 1882, with Phule Phule Dhole Dhole, whose tune is immediately recognizable as that of Ye Banks and Braes o Bonny Doon, where Totini, a river, replaces the identifiable Doon. But the cuckoo calls echo through this poem as P. Kokiba, who sing kuhu, 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 in a song of gentle rhythm mirroring the soft entry of spring as an inexplicable yearning engulfs the poet, unlike the tragedy of the loss of love and subsequent grief in Burns's song at the thought of, quote, departed joys never to return, unquote. It was also in Kal Mrigoya that Robi adapted another poignant song of Burns, Auld Lang Syne, but the lines we all sing now in Purano Shidiner Kotha about meeting old friends and reminiscing on happy times spent together were reworked to their present form and published in Robi Chaya in 1885. Both Robert Burns and Rabindranath Tagore are national bards, poets who loved their nations and their people as they expressed their beauty, their aspirations, and their dignity, even when they were subservient to greater powers. They were not just poets and composers, but like all national bards, they were gleaners who collected the gems of folk culture in songs and rhymes, refined them, and inscribed them for great later generations. Just as Burns was moved by lyrics in Scots, Tagore found inspiration in the songs of Bauls, the wandering minstrels of Bengal, and in folk rhythms, which shows that both Burns and Tagore, Rabbie and Robi, were not only aware of traditions of their country, but were rooted in the local rhythms. And both, with their deep respect for all humanity, were internationalists, and the two between them have woven a magic thread of music and poetry between Scotland and India, which started over 2 centuries ago and continues today as we all gather together to see how one great poet pays respect to another great poet. Though they are centuries and continents apart, but drawn together by their love of words, of music, and of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bashubidi, for this very in-depth analysis between the national bard of 2 countries that we love so much. Thank you again. We now move on to typically celebrating a Burns night dinner, and we have to start with the Selkirk Grace. So during a traditional Burns night celebration, the Selkirk Grace is usually said after the guests have all sat down and before the first course is served. It's a very old Scottish Thanksgiving poem, which has not been written by Burns, but he popularized it by reciting it in so many of his presentations. So now we have Om Ganesh, who will present the Selkirk Grace first.
Hello, my name's Om. I'm going to recite Rabbi Burns' favourite poem, The Selkirk Grace. Some hae meat and canna eat, some hae meat and canna eat, some hae none but want it, some hae none but want it. But we hae meat and we can't eat, but we hae meat and we can't eat. So let the Lord be thanked, so let the Lord be thanked. Happy Burns Day.
Happy Burns Day to you, Om Ganesh. That was very nice. Now, many of us don't know actually the meaning of the Selkirk Grace. And I'm just going to take a minute to explain it because it's so relevant to our life now. So what it means is some have meat, but for various reasons, they are not able to eat it or enjoy it. Some want meat, but don't have the means to get it. But today, at this table, we have meat which we can eat. So let us all thank the Lord for this. The meat is just a synonym out here. Let us all be thankful for what we have and focus more on that rather than cry for what we do not have. So after the Selkirk Grace, in a typical Burns night, we start celebrating his life and work. So we first have Melrick D'Souza presenting First Catch the Haggis, which is recited to show appreciation for the haggis, which is the national dish of Scotland. So here is Melrick presenting this poem.
Through the weather, through the glen, go the Highland hunting men, wrapped warm in kits against the winter cold, only the bravest and the bold. For who knows where the haggis hides amidst these frozen mountain sides, in the loch with neeps and tatties, or lurking with the sheeps and ratties. They seek him here, they seek him there, but none can find the haggis lair. The chieftain of the puddin race is lying low without a trace. Only the piper and the Selkirk Grace can summon haggis to this place. But then with toasts all passed around, we see haggis firm and round. The humble haggis, cooked and dressed, is here to feed men truly blessed. So let this gathering on Burns Day eat and drink and laugh and play. Then the chief of Scottish rhyme, let's sing Burns songs, Auld Lang Syne.
Very well said, Melrick. Thank you. And now it's time for the bagpipes. The Scottish celebration is incomplete without the melody of bagpipes. So here is Varish Rajakumar presenting the piece, Scotland the Brave. Thank you, Varish. That was very well played, and how handsome you look in your tartans and kilt. And now it's time for Tam O'Shanter. So the next piece of work is based on an old Scottish legend called Tam O'Shanter. And it is presented by Afreen and Farhan. And it's about a man who never really listens to his wife, Kate, and ends up in quite challenging situations. So Afreen and Farhan with Tam O'Shanter.
Hello friends, my name is Ayaz Khan. Really nice of SIAF to organize Burns Night. My daughter and son Afreen and Farhan are going to recite Tam O'Shanter by Robert Burns. Hope you like it. Over to you, Afreen and Farhan.
When Chapman Billy's leaves the street and through three neighbours meet, as market days were wearing late and folk began to tack the gate, as you sit boozing at the nappy and getting foo and unco happy, we think now on the Langscott smiles, the mosses and water slaps and styles, that lies between us and our hame, where sits our sulky sullen dame, gathering her bride like a gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm.
This truth fanned honest Tam O'Shanter, as he frae air a night did canter, all's air, wham nae a town surpasses, for honest men and bonny lasses.
O Tam, hadst thou been sae wise to take thy wife Kate's advice, she told the wheel now was a skellum, a blethering, blustering, drunken blellum.
The frae November till October, a market day thou wasna sober. That ilka meddler, wi the miller, thou sat as lang as thou had siller. That every naig had cat a shoe on, the smith and thee gat roaring foo on. That at the Lord's house, even on Sunday, thou drank with Curt and Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou would be found deep drowned in Doon, or catch wi warlocks in the murk by always old haunted kirk.
Ah, gentle dames, it gars me greet to think how many counsel sweet, how many lengthened sage advices the husband frae the wife despises.
No why this tale o' truth shall read, ilk man and mother son take heed. Whene'er to drink ye are inclined, or cutty sarts are in your mind, think ye may buy joys o' dear, remember Tam O'Shanter's mare.
Thank you, Afreen and Farhan. That was very, very good. Amazing. And now it's time to go to The Red, Red Rose by Tanya. So Burns describes his love for his beloved and promises in this poem that his love would last for eternity and remain fresh forever.
Hello everyone, happy Burns Night. Hope all of you are doing safe and well. I'm going to recite A Red, Red Rose by Robert Burns. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like a melody that's sweetly played in tune. As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love I am, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and all the rocks melt with the sun. I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands o' life shall run. And fare thee weel, my only love, and fare thee weel a while, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 mile.
A lovely poem from a lovely girl. Thank you so much, Tanya. At this point, I note that we are very fortunate to have been joined by a few viewers from India. Thank you very much for your support of this event, and I hope you are enjoying the performances as much as we are. Moving on, we now have, further to SIAF's commitment to multicultural integration and solidarity, it's a pleasure to introduce a stunning performance of A Red, Red Rose by the Cosmic Dance Group. Cosmic Dance is a multicultural group based in Edinburgh and Hong Kong, and they concentrate on Bharatanatyam and its fusion with modern popular music. Cosmic Dance now. Oksana and Kirsten, that was so graceful and so beautiful. Thank you very much. Moving on now, it's time for Khalik to present a mouse.
My name is Khalik Abdul, also known as Hanno, and today I will be reciting To a Mouse by Robert Burns. But first, an introduction. In this poem, Robbie Burns is ploughing a field and accidentally destroys a mouse's home. The mouse is now without a house, and winter is fast approaching. He comforts the panicked mouse at first, and then apologizes, not just on behalf of himself, but on behalf of the whole of mankind. He thinks that mankind has been dominating the earth and its creatures. It has ruined the harmony that naturally ought to exist between humans and nature. He says that he knows the mouse steals food, but he doesn't blame the mouse for that. He understands that it has to live and survive somehow, even if that means stealing food. He then speaks of how the mouse wants to spend the oncoming winter in comfort, but then Burns came along and destroyed the little mouse's house. He feels that the mouse isn't alone in that regard. The best laid plans, mice and men, often do go astray. Still, he says, the mouse has got it better, as it only lives in the present and isn't troubled by events of the past, nor is it bothered by the fear of the future, unlike us humans. Some people interpret the mouse as a metaphor for disadvantaged people. Some say it's a reflection of how things go wrong, even when everything is planned correctly. There is always a fear of a certain unknown. Now, the poem. Wee sleeket curen timris bistay. Oh, what a panic's in thy breastay. Though needna start a wassy hasty, birking battle. I wad be late to run and chase thee, ye murdering pattle. I'm truly sorry man's minion has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle. At me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doubt no whiles but thou min thieve. What then, poor beastie, thou min leave? A Damon Ikernath raves a small request. I'll get a blessing with the lave and never missed. Thy wee bit hoosey too in the ruin. It's silly was the winds are strewn, and Nathan knew to a big and new in. Oh foggage green, and bleak December winds on Zewing, bade snelling keen. Those sod fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cozy here beneath the blast. Though thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel, coulter past out throw lies hell. The wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee mony a weary nibble. Now those turned out for aye thy trouble, but house or hold, to thole the winter's sleety dribble, we Crandall called. But Mousie, thou art no thy lane, improving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang off the glade, and layest naught but grief and pain, or promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me, the present only toucheth thee. But ach, I backward cast my eye on prospects dear, and forward though I cannot see, I guess and fear. I'd also like to thank SIAF for the opportunity to present Robert Burns' poem. Thank you.
And thank you, Hanu, for a lovely presentation and also for the explanation. And now it's time to move on to A Man's a Man for That. So Adia and Arav will present this work where Burns makes a plea for international brotherhood and asserts the principles of the French Revolution for its equality and honesty. To Burns, all men are born equal, and a man's worth does not depend on the weight of his purse or the extent of his estate. So, A Man's a Man for That by Adia and Arav.
Honest poverty that hangs his head, and oh, that the coward slave we pass him by, we dare be pair for all that, and all that, our toils obscure, and all that, the rank is but the guinea stamp, the man's the gold for all that. What though unhamely fair we dine, we're hodden grey, and oh, that if fools their silks or knaves their wine, a man's a man for all that, and oh, that their tinsel show, and oh, that the honest man's o' ears appear is king o' man for all that. You see on Berkey Caddo Lord with struts and stairs, and oh, that though hundreds worship at his rod, he's but a coof for all that, and oh, that his ribs and stars, and oh, that the man o' independent mind, he looks so class, and oh, that. A prince can make a belted knight, a marquis duke, and all that. But an honest man upon his mind, good faith he maun uphold that. For all that, and all that, their dignities, and all that, the pith of sense is bridle with their higher light, and all that. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will, for all that, that sense and worth o'er the earth shall bear the gree, and all that, for all that, and all that, it's coming yet, for all that, the man to man, the world o' ear shall brothers be, for all that. Shall brothers be for all that? Shall brothers be for all that?
Adia and Arav, that was so nice. I loved your tartan backdrop and your scarf and shirt. Very nice indeed. And thank you so much. And now moving on. So it's turn for Advita and Daivik Chaudhary. They would be presenting To a Louse. So one morning, as Burns was sitting in church, he noticed a louse, the plural of that is lice, crawling through a woman's very well-dressed posh hair. Of course, Burns being Burns, he points out that to the louse, it doesn't really matter how posh the lady is. A scalp is a scalp. So it turns out that the young lady is not as sophisticated as she presents herself to be. So the theme of the poem is that the way we perceive ourselves is often dramatically different from the way others perceive us. So, To the Louse by Advita and Daivik Chaudhary.
To a Louse by Robert Burns. On seeing it on a lady's bonnet at church. Ha! Where you gone, you crowling fairly? Your impudence protects you surely. I canna say, but you strut rarely. Arigos and laced, though faith, I fear you dying, but sparely on sicker place. You ugly, creeping, blasted water, detested, shunned by sant and sinner. How dare you sect you fit upon her? Say, find a lady, go somewhere else and seek your dinner on some poor body. Scroll.
Thank you so much. And Advita, special thanks because you are looking after Daivik as well in this video. So very, very good. Very good indeed. And now for something slightly different. This group never fails to give you an unforgettable experience. It's a Scottish fusion of the dhol and the bagpipes. Please welcome VIP Dholies.
Hi guys, hope you're all well. My name's Ryan. I'm Liam. We are VIP Dholies and we're here to perform a 5 to 6 minute set for you. All the best.
Balle, balle. This pandemic has just got to end. It will come to an end. I cannot ever remember sitting like this, Saj Dhajke, when the VIP Dholis are performing. Need to just get there and do my bhangra. Anyway, moving on. Thank you so much, VIP Dholis. And it's time now for the lovely Sanvi Srivastav, to present E Banks and Brays of Bonnie Doon.
Hi, I'm Sanvi Srivastav and I'm here to talk about Burns Night. Burns Night is a night where we celebrate the life and poetry of poet Robert Burns. The suppers are normally held on or near his birthday, 25th of January. A traditional Burns supper has haggis, neeps, and tatties. Robert Burns is the oldest son of tenant farmers William Burns and Agnes Brown. After some rudimentary education, Robert's parents encouraged him to read books by contemporary writers, as in Shakespeare and Milton. Alway is a village in South Asia. It also is known as Robert Burns' birthplace and setting for his poem. Robert Burns was the author of many Scottish poems. My favourite one is Ye Banks and Braces. It starts off like this. Ye banks and braces, O bonny Doon, how can ye bloom sae fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little birds, and I say weary, full o' care? Though break my heart, the wobbling words that wanteth through the flowery thorn, though reminds me of departed joy, departed never to return. Thank you for listening. Bye.
What an angel. Thank you so much, Sanvi. That was a very, very sweet recitation and also a little summary of what a difficult life Robert Burns had. He spent most of his life in poverty. In fact, he died in debt of 14 pounds, which was later, I think it was relieved by when his supporters published a few of his poems and helped to raise the money. So he had actually a very, very difficult life. Now, this particular presentation, E Banks and Brays of Bonnie Doon, it's a song. It's actually a song, and it's very close to my heart and to many people who come from Bengal. This is because Rabindranath Tagore actually cut, copy, pasted the tune of this song as well as the meaning of this into a Robindra Songit called Phule Phule Dhole Dhole. And as the tune is so melodious and easy to pick up, it is often one of the first Robindra Songit to be taught in school in Bengal. So now we have Aryan Chakravorty, who's going to present a rendition of E Banks and Braes of Bonnie Doon on the keyboard. ফুলে ফুলে ঢলে ঢলে গাহে কি মৃদু পায়. So that's the cut, copy, paste by Rabindranath Thakur. Thank you so much, Aryan. This was my very first Rabindra Songit, which I learned when I was in school. So thank you very much for performing it. And now it's time for Abir, Ornob, and Soham to present Mountain Daisy. In this poem, the poet actually comes across the crushed stem of a daisy flower. He expresses his appreciation for the daisy's beauty and color and confesses that it's beyond his power to save it. And thus, it is a bad time for them to meet each other. So here is Abir, Ornob, and Soham presenting Mountain Daisy.
To a Mountain Daisy by Robert Burns. Wee modest crimson tip flower, thou's met me in an evil hour, for I maun cross amang the stour thy slender stem. To spare thee mast is past my power, thou bonny gem. Alas, it's no thy neighbour sweet, the bonny lark companion meet, bending thee mang the dewy wheat, wee sprecked breast, when upward singing blithe to greet the purpling east. Cold blew the bitter biting north upon thy early humble birth, yet cheerfully thou glinted forth amid the storm, scarce reared above the parent earth, thy tender form.
The flaunting flowers our gardens yield, high sheltering woods, and Wasmon shield. But thou beneath the random bield, O clod or stain, adorns the hasty stable field, unseen, alane. There in thy scanty mantle clad, thy snowy bosom sunward spread, thou lift thy unassuming head, in humble guise. But now the share uptears thy bed, and low thy lies. Such is the fate of the artless maid, sweet floweret of the rural shade, but love's simplicity betrayed, and guileless trust, till she, like thee, all soiled, is laid. Low I the dust.
Such is the fate of simple bard, on life's rough ocean, luckless starred, unskilful, heeds are not the card of prudent lore, till billows rage and gales blow hard and whelm me o'er. Such fate to suffering, worth is given, who long with wants and woes are striven, by human pride or cunning driven, to misery's brink. Till, wrenched of every star but heaven, he'd ruined to sink. Even though who mounts the daisy's fame, that fate is thine, no distant day. Stern ruins closer drives the lake, full on thy bloom, till crushed beneath the furrow's way, shall be thy doom.
Boys, thank you so much for doing this presentation in spite of the social distancing and sending videos to each other. That was very well done. Thank you. And now it's Melinda's turn, Melinda D'Souza's turn, to present the last piece of Burns' work for this evening. But please don't run away, because we've got lots of other exciting lineups after Melinda presents Up in the Morning.
Cold blows the wind frae east to west, the drift is driving sairly. Say loud and shrills I hear the blast, I'm sure it's winter fairly. Up in the morning snow for me, up in the morning early. When all the hills are covered with snow, I'm sure it's winter fairly. The birds sit chittering in the thorn, a day they fare but sparely. And lang's the night frae e'en to morn, I'm sure it's winter fairly. Up in the morning snow for me, up in the morning early. When all the hills are covered with snow, I'm sure it's winter fairly.
Thank you, Melinda. I love the rhythm of the poem, and I'm just wondering if Melrick is doing an echo, because the last bit of the chorus sounded so nice with two voices. So thank you so much. And now it's time for another presentation by Cosmic Dance. Ruxana and Kirsten, thank you again. And such a lovely location and so well centered. You know, it was the castle and the fountain was in the perfect center during the whole of the video. Very, very nicely done. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And now it's time for us to move on. And we have a short address by the Honorable Consulate General of India, Dr. Shashank Vikram.
A very good evening to all of you. I would like to congratulate Mr. Abhijit Chakrabarti, President of the Scottish Indian Arts Forum, and all the team members for celebrating the Burns Night even in these difficult times. This annual celebrations commemorate the contribution of the Scotland's own national bard, Mr. Robert Burns, to Scottish culture. We are all well aware of his famous poems and songs like To a Louse, To a Mouse, The Cotter's Saturday Night, and I look forward to enjoying the Indo-Scottish fusion entertainment lined up tonight. India is, as you know, one of the world's most ancient civilizations and has developed into one of the world's leading economies. Scotland and India share a deep and historical bond, which is strengthened by the thriving Indian diaspora here. This deep connection between Scotland and India tells the story of two men born a century and over 5,000 miles apart, who became icons in the countries of their birth. There is hardly anyone who didn't hum the tune of Purano Shei Dinev Katha, a famous Bengali song which has been translated to several other languages. But not many know that this timeless song, composed by Nobel Prize winning Bengali poet and novelist Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, has its root in Scotland. Gurudev composed the song inspired by Scottish bard Robert Burns' Aula Sine, long, long ago. What started years ago still holds relevance as there has been a continuous interaction between India and Scotland, with Tagore remaining the focal point of all literary discussions between the two. Once again, I wish you all the success. A very good evening. Namaskar.
And thank you very much, Dr. Vikram, for joining us today and your continued support for all our endeavors in Edinburgh and in Scotland. Thank you very much. And now we have a few words by the President of the Scottish Indian Arts Forum, our very endearing Abhijit Chakraborty, or more affectionately known to us all as Dada. Hello, Abhijit.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Really enjoying this program. It is such a high quality collection of videos.
Absolutely. I think thanks to all of you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Namaskar again. And good evening. It has been wonderful, isn't it? In the past half an hour or so. It's so nice. I'll not take much time. I've got few more things lined up as well. So as you know, on behalf of Scottish Indian Arts Forum, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful evening so far, and I'm sure it will be the next 15, 20 minutes, half an hour or so. I'd like to especially thanks the kids and their parents for coming up with such wonderful poetry, numbers, recitations, and music, etc. In the past 1 week or so. It has been a very short notice, so thank you for that. Thank you, VIP Dolies, the Cosmic Dance Group, as always, for your support. Thank you, Anirban, who will be joining us from India shortly in the next few minutes. My sincere thanks to Bashabidi for spending time with us. Her speech was so informative. it was so wonderful, isn't it? I mean, we have learned, I'm sure people who had not known about Robert Burns or connection with Rabindranath Tagore might have picked a few points from her speech. So thank you, Bashwidi. Meghawala, you have been wonderful. So thank you for all your support. In depthly, we are very grateful to you. A special thanks to Dr. Shashank Vikramji for spending us time today, and thank you for that. Our special thanks to BEMIS for their ongoing support. I just see a message from Sarah Boyk. So Sarah, thank you for all your support. The Scottish government has been supporting us. The Edinburgh Council. Donald Wilson is watching the show, so thank you, Donald, for all your support. It has been really wonderful. The team. Again, I'm just getting emotional now. It has been a wonderful evening so far. I'm sure it will be. So please continue to watch. Without wasting any further time, I'll just hand over to Meghawala again. Over to you, Meghawala.
Thank you, Abhijit. It has been. It's just I'm just so amazed on how much we can really put together in these times of social distancing, the pandemic, and the rest of it. Anyway, moving on. So moving away from Abhijit, we now present the very dynamic Indian dancer Anirban Bhattacharya. Now, Anirban has quite a few accolades under his belt. He has been one of the top contestants in India's national dance reality show on ZTV. In 2012, he won the award at the Senior Dance Kathak contest organized by the Akhil Bharatiya Sanskritik Sangho in Pune. He has participated in Sadhana Sangho in the presence of the Kathak legend Pandit Birju Maharaj, as well as in a dance drama organized by the Sangeet Natak Academy. And over and above all this, Anirban is a regular performer at Doordarshan and has conducted numerous workshops in Kathak, in India and Bangladesh. Thank you, and let's welcome Anirban on board.
I am deeply honored to participate in Burns Night celebration organized by Scottish Indian Arts Forum. This is my first performance for my Scottish audience. I am very much grateful to SIAF for giving me an opportunity to participate and showcase my talent. I hope you all will like my performance, and I will be eager to perform for all of you again. Thank you.
एक हो गए हम और तुम तो उड़ गई नींदे रे हो गए हम और तुम तो उड़ गई नींदे रे और खम की पायल मस्ती में तो पार मिले हम पे ये दम निकले हम पे ये जवानी धीरे धीरे आया हूँ आज मैं लेके जाऊंगा दिल तेरा रोके कोई मुझे टोके कोई मुझे दूंगा उसे जहां से मिटा मुकाला मुकाबला लैला ओ लैला मुकाबला सुभान अल्लाह लैला ओ लैला संभाले तू हीरो मैं ही तो हूँ तेरा तेरी ही बातों ने तो मुलाकात कुल रीत सदा चली आई, प्राण जाए पर वचन न जाई। रघुवर तेरे राह निहारे, रघुवर तेरे राह निहारे, सातों जन्म से सिया, घर मोरे परदेसिया, आओ पधारो पिया। ना तो मैया की लोरी, ना ही फागुन की होरी मोही, कुछ दूसरा ना भाई रे। जब से नैना ये जागे एक धनुर्धर से लागे, तब से बिरहा मोहे सताए रे। जाने न निर्मोहिया, घर मोरे परदेसिया, आओ पधारो पिया। तेरे बाल से मूर्छित हुई रे हिरनिया, बनी रे बनी मैं तेरी जोगनिया, घर मोरे परदेसिया, आओ पधारो पिया, घर मोरे परदेसिया, आओ पधारो पिया। अभी ना जाओ छोड़ कर के दिल अभी भरा नहीं, अभी ना जाओ छोड़ कर के दिल अभी भरा नहीं। अभी अभी तो आए हो बहार बन के छाए हो, हवा जरा महक तो ले, नजर जरा बहक तो ले, ये शाम ढल तो ले जरा, ये शाम ढल तो ले जरा, ये दिल संभल तो ले जरा। मैं थोड़ी देर जी तो लूं, नशे की घूंट पी तो लूं। मुझसे दूर कहीं न जा, बस यही कहीं रह जा, मैं तेरी दीवानी रे, अफसोस तुझे है क्या। मुझसे दूर कहीं न जा, बस यही कहीं रह जा, मैं तेरी दीवानी रे, अफसोस तुझे है क्या। तेरी मेरी कहानी नहीं बन गई, तू मेरा हो गया मैं तेरी हो गई, जहाँ जाए तू संग मुझे ले जा, ले जा, ले जा, ले जा, ले जा, महकी रात में चुरा के सारे रूप ले जा, लाते राते में भीगू साथ में, तू ऐसी मुलाकात दे जा।
Back it up now. बजने दे धड़क धड़क ढोल ताश धड़क धड़क भंडारा झिड़क झिड़क मल्हारी खड़क धड़क भड़क सली चटक मटक भटक सली दुश्मन की देखो जो फाट लावली अरे बजने दे धड़क धड़क ढोल ताश धड़क धड़क भंडारा झिड़क झिड़क मल्हारी खड़क धड़क भड़क सली चटक मटक भटक सली दुश्मन की देखो जो फाट लावली बजने दे धड़क धड़क ढोल ताश धड़क धड़क भंडारा झिड़क झिड़क मल्हारी खड़क धड़क भड़क सली चटक मटक भटक सली दुश्मन की देखो जो फाट लावली धीरे धीरे बड़ी चली है जो थी चिंगारी छोटी चिंगारी बड़ी 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 है मन की अलमारी आज अलमारी हुई सतरंगी साली सतरंगी हुई सतरंगी थी जो ये रात काली धड़क धड़क भड़क सली चटक मटक भटक सली दुश्मन की देखो जो बात लावली बजने दे धड़क धड़क ढोल ताश धड़क धड़क भंडारा झिड़क झिड़क मल्हारी धड़क धड़क भड़क सली चटक मटक भटक सली दुश्मन की देखो जो बात लावली
What a treat. Excellent choreography. Kya costumes, kya location, or kya energy. Thank you, Anirban. That was a brilliant performance by your team. Kudos to you all. Bless you and hope to see you in Bollywood and beyond, maybe one day in Scotland. Thank you very much, Anirban. And now, moving on. So here we are celebrating the immortal memory of our national bard, Robbie Burns, whose words on international brotherhood and social equality continue to be cherished worldwide for more than 2 centuries. For those of you who could not join us live, please catch us on Facebook and YouTube. SIAF would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the children and their parents for their wonderful contribution to this celebration. We hope to meet you all in person during better times when we can all enjoy ourselves and be merry and sing and dance to Auld Lang Syne just as Robbie Burns would have wanted us to. Thank you all again for joining us in this wonderful celebration. Namaste and Slanjava.